Believe it or not, I was not always a sex expert. There are certain things that I have done that made me an expert at sex, and I'm going to share a lot of those with you today, including one very special one, but you're going to need to watch until the very end to hear that. It's definitely my number one tip, definitely the number one reason that I am where I am today, where I coach men all over the world on ending premature ejaculation and being confident and successful lovers. But what was the life of Caitlin V prior to this sex coach person that you see in front of you today? Well, listen, I was just like you. I literally started with nothing. It's not like I came from a household in which sex was openly discussed. That was definitely not the case. It's not like I had some early on experiences that either scarred or inspired me. I mean, I had a pretty normal life. I grew up in the Midwest with like fairly conservative, but like slightly open-minded parents that encouraged me to pursue my dreams. But outside of that, I'm no different than anyone else, except for that today I am a sexpert. The truth is that even though I have a degree, even though I have been a sex and relationship coach for years now and a sex educator before that, even though I have published papers, even though, like, all of that makes me unique for sure, and it gives me authority and it lets you know that I know what the hell I'm doing. But there are some things that I have done over the course of my life that have set me up to be an expert at sex and to be great at sex. And those are things that you can do as well, and I'm going to share them with you today. So why are you watching this channel? Most of the time it's because you want to get great at sex. I mean, don't we all? Wouldn't being awesome at sex be an amazing thing for you in your life? Like, think about what your life would be like if you were walking around every day like, that's right, I am the best possible lover that I could be. I blow panties straight off people and bring them to their knees in pleasurable ecstasy. Like, who does not want that on their job title? Like, people care so much more about how good they are at sex than how much money they make, what kind of car they drive. Like, you know this to be true. You've ever seen a woman who's with a guy who's like a total loser in every way? He treats her poorly. He doesn't own his own car, doesn't have his own job. He's ugly as sin. What do you think is happening when they close the door? The guy's great at sex. It's really not, it's not rocket science, okay? And sex isn't rocket science. The good news is that sex actually, if you follow my advice that I'm gonna give you, sex actually, if you follow this advice, will be pretty easy for you too. Because guess what? You were built to do it. You knew that from around the age of like 13 or so. Your body is primed, okay? Often it's just that your mind gets in the way. All right, that's enough. Let's get straight to my advice. Number one, non-judgment. You hear me talk about this a lot on my channel, but it bears repeating. If you're judging yourself for wanting to learn more about sex, you are gonna be your biggest block to becoming great at sex. If you think sex is dirty or shameful or wrong, or that you feel bad for having it or feel bad for being interested in it, how far are you going to get? You are not going to get very far in this world unless you decide to come into it without judgment. Also, number two, there's a lot of things about sex that people do with sex that you're going to want to judge. Like, you're going to be primed to go, oh, you're into that? That gets you off? Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean that it's wrong, it's weird, it's bad. And the more non-judgment that you can bring to other people, the more non-judgment that you can bring to yourself, the better you're gonna get at sex. And the better you're gonna get at anything, I mean, honestly. But sex just tends to be an area that people feel extremely judgmental around, and it's really easy to get that way because, and this brings me to tip number two, separate what you feel about sex from what other people feel about sex. For most of us, we grew up in households where sex either wasn't talked about, which tells you a lot, or if it was talked about, it was spoken about because it was bad, dirty, wrong, something to be avoided, something that was going to corrupt you or ruin your future or get you pregnant or get you sick or whatever. Those are other people's views about sex. What are yours? For me personally, I believe that sex connects me to my lover. I believe it's a way of reducing stress and getting some physical exertion. I believe it can be a spiritual connection to something bigger than myself. Like, I have some really hardcore positive beliefs about sex, but guess what? I didn't grow up believing those, and I definitely didn't get them from the culture that surrounds us. If I just believed what the average, American, I'm American. I know you probably aren't, or you might not be if you're watching this video, because I talk to people all over the world. Hi, people all over the world. If you grew up in the world today, specifically in the West, you probably were taught that sex exists with like big boobs, blondes. Sex has this really like pornographic idea about it. Like, if you only believe the things that you see in porn, you're going to believe that all men should have big penises, all women should have screaming orgasms, everyone should love anal sex. Like, understand that your beliefs about sex are not your own unless you've done the work to actually tease apart, where did I get that idea versus where I got that idea versus what ideas are true for me. Which brings me to tip number 3, which is practice with lightheartedness. Okay? If you take sex super duper seriously all the time, you're only going to get super duper serious results. And sex can be serious, but it can be fun. And if you practice everything from non-judgment to self-reflection to sex itself with an air of lightness, lightheartedness, like, this should be fun, this can be joyful, this doesn't need to be super sad and serious and scary. Like, sex can be a area of play. That's going to make it a lot easier, because guess what? You're going to go up and down in your journey to becoming an amazing master of sex. There's going to be times where you're like, I am winning at this game. I've never been more confident. This is awesome. And there's going to be times where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I messed that up again. No one's ever going to want to have sex with me ever again. I'm so awful at this. And guess what? If you're taking it not too seriously, you're going to be able to ride those downs and get back up to those highs way, way, way faster. Also, honesty. It's not enough to just be lighthearted. You got to be honest. You got to be honest with yourself, and you got to be honest with your partners. And if you say to someone, hey, I'm trying to get better at sex, you want to give me feedback and let's keep this fun and light, that's going to be way, way, way easier for you to go into that scenario than the one where you're like, I have to pretend I already know everything there is to know about this, and there's no way I could ever get feedback because that will crush my soul. No one wants to have sex with that guy. No one wants to be that guy. Be the guy that can honestly say, hey, I want to get really great at oral sex. Do you think you could give me some pointers? Let me know how you like it. I'm open to feedback. That's honest. That's lighthearted. That's fun. Go with that. Now, how do we get better? That brings me to tip number 4, which is read. Read. There are so many awesome books about sex and sexuality. I will link to them on my website. I will give those. I have a whole list that I keep for my clients. I'm going to put it on my website. I'm going to link to it at the bottom of this video. Okay? All right. You're welcome. There are awesome resources out there on sex and sexuality. So go get them. Spend time with them. If you're the kind of person that loves reading about your business, loves reading about your finances, loves reading about cars, loves reading the instruction manuals when you buy new gadgets, then why not read about sex? Like, why should sex be the one thing that you never have to study, but you're going to expect yourself to be good at it? Forget that. Go do research. Read. It's fun. It can be anyway. I mean, I like it better than reading instruction manuals. It's like body instruction manuals, like pleasure. Think about it like pleasure instruction manuals. And I have to say, it's not enough just to read. That brings me to tip number 5, which is check the source. Don't believe everything that you read about sex. There are a lot of people out there trying to make a buck off of telling you how to have sex the right way, how to touch a how to approach a woman the right way. And there's even more people trying to make money on buy this horny goat weed extract powder that has like secret Viagra chemicals in it, like at the gas station. There's a lot of people that are trying to take your money in exchange for promises, right? Because sex matters so much, but because we're not so educated on it, sometimes we're like, oh, that sounds like a really good promise that this gas station supplement is making to me about performance or stamina or size or virility or whatever. The truth is that you have to educate yourself, and you shouldn't trust just everything that you read. If it's not from a credible source, or it's not been in a peer-reviewed journal, like the articles that you'll find on, for the most part, Google Scholar, then you have to decide for yourself whether that's information that you believe is credible enough for you to put into practice. Also, just because it worked for one person doesn't mean that it's going to work for everyone. I read this free guide from a coach who I'm not going to name, where they took like almost exclusively about what's the secret formula to get her wet, the secret wetness formula, and it's all about hair pulling. Okay, hair pulling is great and all, but honestly, look at this head. Where do you pull hair? Here? It's not going to be sexy. That guide was, it was fine for some women, but it's not the number one secret to getting laid is being able to pull hair. That would never have worked on anybody. Where are you going to pull my hair? Good luck. Well, I can do it because I know where it is. But you might just, it doesn't work. Too many people write guides that are written for everybody, which is great. I mean, even my free guide is written generally to cure premature ejaculation for 99% of men. But even the people that read that need to take steps after that first step. If you download someone's guide or something and it promises this is going to get her wet every single time and make you the master of vagina, it's not, and that's okay. It's really not meant to. Don't believe that one thing is going to cure everything for every person. There's not one like silver bullet, magic pill, whatever for sex. Sex is cool. It's complicated. It's sort of like a diet. Like a vegan diet might work for somebody, a gluten-free diet's going to work for somebody else, and somebody else wants to eat hot dogs for 3 meals a day. None of those people are wrong. They just have different needs. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution, and you should definitely question anyone who promises you something that seems too good to be true. And that brings me to step number 6, which is pay for stuff. Pay for quality stuff, like porn. Buy porn that's made ethically by producers that feature a diversity of bodies and diversity of sexual acts. If you rely strictly on free porn or strictly on free information, you're not really getting the full depth and richness that is available out there. There's tons of great free stuff out there, and by all means, like, please go get my free guide. I put it together very specifically so that it will get you started on the journey of curing premature ejaculation, if that is your challenge. But also recognize that free guides, the information that you can find on the internet, it's a great starting point, but it's not the whole enchilada. Buy books, buy great porn, buy people's time and energy and resources that they spent, like spend money to work with a coach, spend money to work with a therapist, spend money to get the really good information that exists out there from credible sources, and then spend your time working on it. Don't expect that you'll be able to become a master lover overnight just based off of a handful of resources that you found on the internet. Even if those resources are great, there's a lot more out there that is high quality and is worth your time and is worth your hard-earned cash. How is this the internet? Why is this the symbol for cash? Are you ready? I promised this to you at the beginning of the video. What's my actual number 1 tip for becoming a sexpert? Masturbate. That is 100% right. You should become an expert lover for yourself. Now, why is this my number 1 tip? Well, guess what? Where are you going to learn about sex except for right here, the home of sex for you? I credit figuring out how to get myself off early on in life with being one of the reasons that I was able to get great and interested and be non-judgmental about sex later in life. Now, I'm not going to go into the details. They're not relevant to the subject. But no matter how old you were when you figured out that there was something pleasurable happening between your legs, and no matter how old you are right now, if you start here in the body, in your body, and you become an expert at all of the things, not just like how to get yourself off as quickly as possible, but how does your whole body function together as a sexual organ? And that's great whether or not you have a partner. And if you have a partner, then practicing with them is a spectacular way to get great at sex if you use all of the other techniques that I gave you in this video, and you're open and honest and communicative, etc., and you're researching and you're learning more, and you have a partner that is interested. And if you don't, guess what? You are in luck, because you don't need one. You, my friend, person watching this, you are a sexual being. You have everything that you need right here in order to experience the fullness and the richness of everything that I've discussed here today. That is how I became a sex expert. Now, again, I did go to school. I did spend years as a professional sexual health educator. I was a sexual health researcher. I used to take part in studies and do stuff that probably would make you blush and was completely clinical and terribly academic. And I also did everything that I mentioned to you here in this video, and I credit all of that with getting me to where I am today, which is a bona fide sexpert. Bona fide sexpert. If you liked this, please spank that like button. Give me the thumbs up. Let me know that you did. And if you want my help, then follow the links below. Download my free guide, go to my website, apply to coach with me, because this is what I do all day, every day, is I help men just like you to become amazing at sex. It's a cool job. Check me out. Thanks for watching. See you later.